Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1293, and today's date is May 30th, 2017, and the title of the episode is The Entire System is Ripping Itself Apart, and It's Going Unnoticed. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. I placed a new interview on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel. It's with Amanda B. Johnson. She explains what cryptocurrencies are. She goes into detail on how she believes this is going to change the world. And if you'd like to see that, you can go right over to YouTube, type in X22 Report Spotlight. It'll bring you right to that video. Or you can come over to the X22report.com site, scroll down a little bit, look over to the right-hand side. You'll see the video there, and you can play it right on the site. Or you can go to newssentinel.com. Same thing, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, and you can play the video right on the site. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we've been following the economy deteriorating for quite a while. During the Obama administration, we realized that the economy was deteriorating, but during that period, we also understood that the central bank, they were pumping in, trillions and trillions of dollars into the system to pump these bubbles up. And we've reached a point where the bubbles, they're at their maximum level, and things are rapidly starting to go wrong. And we are noticing this. Now, during the period where we looked at it during Obama, we saw it building. We saw it getting worse. We saw retail getting worse. The GDP numbers continually declined. Unemployment numbers, everyone was starting to call them out as completely fake. Now, nobody even pays attention to them. And we can see, not just here in the United States, but all around the world, things are rapidly falling apart. And it is accelerating to the downside. Out in the Eurozone, we see that Eurozone economic confidence, it slipped from a decade high. Optimism in the Euro area's economy declined unexpectedly in May. I love when they use the word unexpectedly. It's not unexpected. Most of these numbers, not just here in the United States, but around the world, they're completely manipulated to make it look like things were getting better. I remember back in 2013 when then President Hollande in France was saying that they were coming out of the recession. Everything was fantastic. Unemployment was going to drop like there was no tomorrow. And nothing really changed in France. Actually, the situation got worse. Then they started to manipulate a lot of their numbers, just like the United States did, and they tried to make everyone believe that things were a lot better. Well, the European Commission's index of executive and consumer sentiment fell to 109.2 in May from a revised 109.7. And they were expecting 110. So they were way off. The services confidence indicator dropped to 13 from 14.2 in April, while the retail trade confidence index fell to 2.0 from 3.1. So we could see that things, they're not going too well. Here in the United States, the consumer confidence, this is coming from the Conference Board Consumer Confidence, and remember, this is the government consumer confidence. They give them grants and things like that, and they do what they want where they manipulate the numbers. Well, this is also slipping right now to its weakest since February. And those individuals that were surveyed, they said, their dreams to buy a home, a car, maybe a major appliance, they're not looking to do this right now because hope has now declined in May to the lowest levels in years. And this tells me something, that the powers that are controlling pretty much everything right now, they are trying to make the case that the economy now is not doing as well. And they will continually do this. Now, we are now entering June, and they're going to start the idea that the economy isn't doing as well. They've been looking at the stock market. They've been talking about how Trump, has been building the market up. This way they can say Trump is going to bring the market down. This is all in preparation to blame this on Trump. Now, what is happening in the economy is the economy was built on an illusion. The illusion, it's being stripped away right now. And what is happening is that the personal spending of individuals, that has dropped on a year-to-year basis. And what we're seeing right now is that it is the weakest since September of 2016. And what we're seeing right now is this rollover of people saying, you know something, I just don't have the money to do this. I can't go out and spend. And we can see that these numbers are being revised to make it look a lot better than it is. Now, the reason they're doing this, and this is going back to January where they started to revise all the numbers on spending, it's because they're trying to make the case where the Fed will be able to raise the interest rates. And this is why they're doing all these revisions and manipulating these numbers to make it look like the economy is doing well. The Fed is going to go off these numbers. They're going to say we're going to raise the interest rates according to the data. And in reality, behind the scenes, these numbers are absolutely awful. Now, to push this ahead a little bit further, they needed to rework the credit scores. Now, Fair Isaac, the company behind the FICO score that determines every consumer's credit rating, will stop including its FICO credit score calculations any record of consumer failing to pay a bill if the bill has been paid or settled with a collection agency. So basically what they're doing, they're also going to give less weight to unpaid medical bills that are with a collection agency. In doing all of this, the company would make it easier for about 10 million individuals to get loans. Now remember, the central bank needs people to go out and they need them to take on more debt. This is the way the system operates. So by doing this, they're allowing people to take on more debt. Remember, the central bank wants to bring the economy down. Right now, we're entering June. This is the start of where they're going to make the case of the economy is going to start falling apart. You're going to hear it a lot in the corporate media where things aren't going as well because they feel they've given Trump a long period of time here, long enough actually, where his policies, whatever he's been doing, which is pretty much of nothing in regards to the economy except blowing up more and more bubbles, and this is being done on purpose to bring the economy down. They're going to try to make the case that because of what he's been doing, the economy is failing. Now, we're probably going to see this ramp up in August. But from now until August, they need to keep the economy going. They need to keep people out there spending. They need to make sure that money is going into retail, flowing out there, getting people into more and more debt. So what else did they do? Well, they're also going to remove tax liens and civil judgments. They'll be removed from people's credit reports. And this will allow these individuals to go out, borrow funds, get credit cards to keep the system going a little bit longer. Is this going to help the economy? No. Is this going to allow people to take on more debt? Yes. And we can see right now that this whole idea of allowing this to happen is to keep the economy chugging along for a little while longer so they can then bring it down. It sounds ridiculous, but the central bank wants everyone in. They want everyone in, and everyone has to be strapped with debt because this is the way their system works. This way they can control the people because when you're in debt, guess what happens? They can control you. You need to pay that debt back. And if you can't pay it back, well, we come after your assets. This is what they want. Now, we see that home prices, they are skyrocketing right now. In the 20 cities, Shiler is reporting that houses are moving up and they rose in value by 5.89% year on year. This is the strongest growth since 2014. Now, they have just passed the period back in 2004, 5, and 6, where the bubble hit the top. We just went over that. So they have completed the mission of blowing the bubble up, and the bubble is getting ready to be popped. Because what we're seeing in many of the other areas is that the housing market is not where they're saying it is. I'm seeing outside the 20 cities, house prices are coming down. Houses are still staying on the market longer and longer and longer, and people are having a very difficult time selling them. Now, the corporate debt bomb, it is ticking, and we can see we are in big trouble. Corporate profits right now, they are rolling over. 2 years ago, corporations posted their first year negative profit growth since the Great Crisis. We had a bounce from those depressed levels, which suckered a lot of investors into believing the fundamentals were improving. That period has now ended. Year-over-year profits, they are rolling over hard. Profits are rolling over at a time when corporate leverage is nearing all-time highs. As the IMF has noted, the median net leverage of the EBITDA for S&P 500 companies is close to 1.5. The last time we were anywhere near these levels was at the absolute peak of the tech bubble in 2000. And here we are once again. So when we look at the economy, we can see it's ripping itself apart. Many people don't even realize this. This reminds me of 2008. During the first half of 2008, where companies were struggling, many companies were going bankrupt, the government was stepping in and trying to save certain corporations, the economy in the real estate market, in the retail market, in the subprime security market, it was ripping itself apart. But no one really noticed what was going on. We are seeing the same exact thing happen right now. And we can see we're coming to a point where the debt ceiling is going to be reached. We're going to be running out of funds because the budget has only been created to last until September 30th. And we see that Trump is calling the Senate for a nuclear option to avoid shutdown. Now, he knows that Democrats won't do that. And actually, I don't think he wants a shutdown. I think he wants to keep this continually moving on, and he wants the bubbles to get larger and larger and larger, and he wants the system to crash just the way it is. Just the way they've been doing it all along. He's helping it along, and he's getting ready to bring it down because he wants to own the narrative. He wants to point the finger at the deep state, at the central bank, and say, see, this was their method. This was their economy. Because if you noticed, he hasn't done anything for the economy. Yes, he's out there telling people there's more jobs coming, but no jobs have come. He hasn't gotten through any of his tax plans. He hasn't done anything with the economy. So we are running now still on the central bank Obama economy. Nothing has changed. And he's letting it run its course. Now, the central bank, on the other hand, they are maneuvering, and they're going to try to switch this around and try to blame it on Trump. And this is what we're seeing right now as we continue on. Now, we can see that there are many countries out there, and they're preparing for this system to crash. We know that Russia, China, they've been amassing a huge amount of gold. India has been taking on a lot of gold. And many people are saying, well, when the system dies and the paper currency disappears, those countries that have the gold, well, they're going to be the winners. So what we're seeing right now is out in Dubai, they've just created a new gold-backed currency called 1 gram. And this 1 gram, well, it's a blockchain technology which is backed by gold. And gold investors should prepare for tightening in supply. Bitcoin and Shiler gold demand suggest change in retail investor thinking. Shiler gold and Bitcoin point to changing views. A new global-backed currency, well, it has been launched. And it is a new currency known as 1 gram, backed by the 1 gram of gold, and can be used for digital payments. There is a fixed number of OGCs, and digital transaction fees will be reinvested to buy more gold. And this is according to the managers of the new system. And we can see right now that they are prepared to back their system with gold, and they're using cryptocurrencies to do this with. Now, there are individuals out there saying that cryptocurrencies, this is going to be the new wave of what currencies are going to be. They're going to be decentralized. They're not going to be controlled by the banking system. Actually, we might not even need the banking systems. You might just have loan centers or things like that. The currencies are created without interest whatsoever, and they might be backed with gold. Maybe. We don't know as of yet. We see one system that is out there, but we can see that As the dollar dies, as this central currency controlled by a central bank dies, we see countries are preparing and getting ready for something new. And there has to be something new. And this is why you need to be ready and prepared. Silver, yes, you're going to need cash on hand for the beginning stage of the collapse, because people, the cryptocurrency and everything will not be up and running. People will still accept cash as it continually loses its value. Then there'll be a certain point where you'll no longer use cash. You might barter for a little while. Then all of a sudden, countries will start using different systems, maybe a gold-backed cryptocurrency, or a different type of cryptocurrency, maybe Bitcoin, maybe Dash, we don't know as of yet. And they might say this will be the currency of the country. And each country most likely will be taking on one of these type of systems, and then they'll be traded. And we can see right now, until we get to that stage, you need to be ready for what is happening. Because during this period where we go through this transition, you will not be able to get supplies. The value of the dollar will decrease. Credit will freeze up, because we're coming off a system that is imploded on itself, where it no longer functions. And the entire system that we were on, well, it was dependent on the central bank. It was dependent on the dollar. So credit is going to freeze up. The SWIFT system is going to freeze up. The dollar will be worth nothing. Supplies are going to come to an end for a short period of time. And you need to be prepared and ready for this. And this is what we've been talking about for a long time. And it looks like we are headed to that time period, because we can see the economy, well, it is accelerating to the downside. It's ripping itself apart. And most of the people don't even realize this is happening. And they won't realize any of this until it's way too late. So don't be late. Get prepared and get ready for this collapse. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.